Gretchen Harrington was born on June 13, 1967, in Pennsylvania, as the youngest of three daughters. Shortly after her birth, the family relocated to the small town of Bumo, where her father, a pastor, secured a position at the local church. Gretchen quickly developed a fondness for this town, spending much of her time outdoors with her sisters and new friends. Bumo was a safe environment, allowing parents to feel comfortable letting their children play outside until dusk. With its abundant natural beauty and tight-knit community, the town felt like a paradise for children raised in a religious household. Gretchen frequently attended her father's church and excelled in Sunday school, consistently achieving top marks. On the morning of August 15, 1975, when Gretchen was 8 years old, her family eagerly anticipated the return of her mother and newborn sister from the hospital. Although Gretchen wished to wait for them, her father encouraged her to attend Sunday school to maintain her perfect grades. Reluctantly, she agreed, took her Bible, and made her way to church. Typically, she would walk there with her older sisters, but they both remained at home that morning. Gretchen felt confident walking alone, as the church was less than a mile away, just an 8-minute stroll from her house. The Sunday school lessons were divided into two parts, the first of which children congregated at Trinity Church, and after approximately an hour and a half, some of them proceeded to Gretchen's father's church. However, at 11:30 a.m. upon the children's arrival at the second church, Gretchen's father realized that his daughter was missing from the group. This was peculiar, as the children had been brought together. He speculated that Gretchen might have remained at the first church, prompting him to make a call there. The call was answered by the pastor's wife, named David, who taught Sunday school. She informed him that Gretchen was not present and relayed the situation to her husband, who was taken aback, as Gretchen had not attended his classes that morning. Concerned, her father requested David to contact the police and began searching for his daughter. He drove along the route between the two churches, checking nearby streets, but there was no sign of Gretchen. He also contacted the parents of her friends, hoping she might have chosen to spend time with them, but they were either at church or at home. Gretchen's closest friend, David's daughter, had not seen her throughout the day either. The police promptly initiated a search, and as news of Gretchen's disappearance circulated throughout the town, hundreds of volunteers quickly rallied to assist. Many locals were familiar with Gretchen's father, as they regularly attended his church, and they were eager to help. Together with the volunteers, the police conducted a thorough search of the entire town, subsequently expanding their efforts to include various wooded areas and the riverbank. A police helicopter was also deployed to aid in the aerial search. The search persisted into the night. The following day yielded no results, as even more volunteers joined the search efforts. The police produced flyers featuring Gretchen's photograph and details regarding her disappearance, which were distributed along roadways and given to passing motorists. Despite these extensive efforts, the police not only failed to locate Gretchen but were also unable to ascertain the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. After several days of investigation, no significant leads emerged, leaving Gretchen's fate shrouded in mystery. Her disappearance dealt a severe blow to the local community, where residents were accustomed to allowing their children to roam freely from a young age. Such an incident had never occurred before. Children would spend hours exploring the woods and swimming in the river without adult supervision, and parents felt secure. However, this sense of safety was now a thing of the past. The uncertainty surrounding Gretchen's fate only heightened their fears. Various theories circulated among the townspeople. Some speculated that she may have run away, while others believed she might have drowned in the river. The most alarming theory suggested that she had been abducted. As a result, parents began to restrict their children's freedom, with one local woman even cutting her daughter's long hair to make her appear more like a boy. A town that was once safe and tranquil transformed overnight into a place filled with anxiety and apprehension. The police also interrogated individuals who might have had any connection to Gretchen's case. During these inquiries, several intriguing leads emerged, including a witness who reported seeing a girl resembling Gretchen near the church that morning, where a green station wagon was seen approaching her. The witness did not observe the events that transpired afterward. Another individual recounted a similar account, stating that a white Cadillac approached the girl. The police pursued these leads and investigated the owners of all vehicles that matched the descriptions in the vicinity, but they were unable to determine any involvement. For days following Gretchen's disappearance, detectives received a new tip from a resident of Westchester, located approximately 30 minutes from Beaumont. This individual reported finding children's shorts that matched the description of Gretchen's clothing. Investigators promptly presented the shorts to Gretchen's mother, however, she confirmed that they did not belong to her daughter. From that point onward, there was no advancement in the case for several weeks. The police eventually suspended the search operation and shifted their focus to the investigation. They continued to interview individuals and pursue any available leads, but with each passing day, their hope of locating Gretchen alive waned. This situation persisted for 2 months until October 14th, when a disturbing call was received by the police. A man jogging in a large national park, situated about a 20-minute drive from Brawall, noticed something unusual in the bushes. Initially, he did not recognize what it was, but upon closer inspection, he realized it was a human body. He immediately reported his finding to the park rangers, who then contacted the police. Officers quickly determined that the remains belonged to a child, but due to the level of decomposition, identifying the child proved to be extremely difficult. Detectives speculated that it could be Gretchen and showed her parents photographs of the clothing that had been found. The clothing, meticulously folded, was found adjacent to the remains, and Gretchen's mother promptly identified them as belonging to her daughter, having crafted those garments herself. Subsequently, forensic specialists verified the identity of the remains by comparing them with her dental records. They also established that the cause of death resulted from multiple severe blows to the head, leading to the reclassification of the case as a homicide. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, further details, including the possibility of sexual assault, could not be ascertained. Additionally, the absence of DNA analysis in 1975 left investigators without crucial evidence. The news of the murder reignited interest within the local community, prompting an influx of tips as residents became increasingly aware of the potential presence of a dangerous criminal among them, eager to see justice served swiftly. Investigators received numerous reports regarding suspicious individuals seen in the park area where Gretchen's body was discovered. However, these leads ultimately proved fruitless. They also scrutinized individuals residing within a few miles who had prior records of violent offenses, but this approach yielded no significant results. Several months after the body was found, the investigation reached a standstill, with no new developments. Over the ensuing years, the case was periodically reopened, and detectives revisited all available tips and leads, yet each attempt ended in futility. The primary challenge remained that the detectives lacked any tangible evidence, and even with the advent of DNA analysis, no breakthroughs were achieved. In this specific instance, the absence of foreign samples on Gretchen's remains or her clothing resulted in the case remaining unresolved for several decades. It was occasionally referenced in newspapers and featured on television, but it was only in recent years that Gretchen's murder garnered renewed public interest. 2 journalists, Joanna and Mike, undertook the task of writing a book about the crime, dedicating several years to gathering all available information and seeking to uncover new details. Both journalists were raised in Brawl and were approximately the same age as Gretchen at the time of her murder. Joanna, who was just 9 years old then, retained vivid memories of the incident, as it profoundly affected her life and the entire community. Following Gretchen's disappearance, children were no longer allowed to play outside unsupervised, living in fear that the perpetrator might strike again. This fear lingered for many years, and even young children sensed the drastic change in their lives, ensuring that Gretchen's murder remained etched in their memories. To create the book, Joanna and Mike gained access to the case files and interviewed numerous individuals connected to the investigation. They meticulously reconstructed the events of that time, providing a comprehensive account of the story. The book was published in 2022 and quickly drew significant attention to the case. However, its most substantial impact occurred months later when a woman reached out to the police to discuss Gretchen's case. She met with the lead detective to share her story, revealing that she was 10 years old at the time. The individual in question was present at the time of the murder and resided in Havertone, not far from Gretchen's residence. She had a friendship with Gretchen and her older sisters, as well as with many other children in the vicinity. Frequently, she would spend the night at her friends' homes. One particular night, while staying at the house of 2 sisters, she experienced a terrifying incident. She awoke in the middle of the night to the sensation of someone touching her. Upon opening her eyes, she was startled to find their father standing before her, who quickly exited the room. Fearful of disclosing the incident, she remained at the house for another night, during which the same occurrence transpired. Her friend's father entered the bedroom and began to touch her again. The next morning, she confided in one of the sisters about the events. To her astonishment, the sister revealed that such incidents were not uncommon, stating that their father sometimes visited her sister at night. Upon returning home, she informed her parents of the situation. However, rather than contacting the authorities, they merely forbade her from visiting her friend's house again. This series of events unfolded just 1 week prior to Gretchen's disappearance. After recounting her experience, the woman ultimately identified the man involved as David Zanstra, the same pastor who taught at the Sunday school. Furthermore, she disclosed that a month after Gretchen's disappearance, one of her friends was approached twice by a man attempting to abduct her. The girl refused to enter his vehicle and later informed her friends that it was Zanstra who had tried to entice her. To corroborate her account, the woman presented detectives with her personal diary from that time. On September 15, 1975, she documented her friend's request to maintain confidentiality, expressing concerns that David Zanstra might pose a threat following the revelation of this information. In response, the police promptly reopened the investigation. Upon re-evaluating the case files, detectives discovered several suspicious details that indirectly pointed to David's involvement. Notably, he was the individual who initially reported Gretchen's disappearance to law enforcement. The pastor provided investigators with a comprehensive account of her attire, describing dark blue zip-up shorts featuring front studs and pockets, devoid of zippers or buttons. He also noted that she wore a white top and had her hair styled in braids, yet he claimed not to have seen Gretchen that day. This inconsistency raised a pertinent question: how could he accurately describe her clothing that morning, particularly since her outfit was confirmed to be the same as what she wore when her body was discovered? Furthermore, detectives found that the Sunday school classes commenced approximately 50 minutes late due to Zanstra's absence from the church at the usual time. This delay suggested he had sufficient opportunity to abduct Gretchen, commit murder, dispose of her body in the park, and return to the church in time for his lessons. According to David's statement made shortly after Gretchen's disappearance, he transported some children in his van to her father's church following Sunday school. He maintained that he did not see Gretchen that morning and only became aware of her absence when her father informed him. Additionally, it was noted that David, along with his wife and 3 children, relocated to another state. A few months following the disappearance, the pastor acquired several vehicles, one of which was a green station wagon. A witness had informed the police that a similar vehicle was seen approaching a girl near the church on the day Gretchen went missing. In light of this information, the detectives opted to interview the man, who was then 83 years old and residing in Georgia. On July 17, 2023, they traveled to meet him at the police station to commence their questioning. When Zanstra realized that the detectives suspected him of murder, he began to deny all allegations, inquiring about the evidence against him. The detectives revealed they had testimony from a woman who claimed he had assaulted her during a sleepover at his residence, as well as accusations regarding the molestation of his own daughters. Upon hearing this, David was taken aback, and his demeanor shifted dramatically as he recognized that his hidden transgressions had come to light. He ceased his denials and, nearly half a century after the murder, began to recount his version of events. He stated that on that fateful morning, he drove to Gretchen's father's church in his green American Motors station wagon and observed the girl leaving her home. Waiting for the absence of witnesses, he approached her and offered her a ride. Without hesitation, Gretchen entered his vehicle, as she was familiar with David due to their family's friendship and was en route to his Sunday school classes. However, instead of taking her to the church, he drove her to a secluded park area, halted the car, and instructed her to undress. When Gretchen refused and expressed her desire to return home, Zanstra struck her multiple times on the head, rendering her unconscious. A few months following the disappearance, the pastor acquired several vehicles, one of which was a green station wagon. A witness had informed the police that a similar vehicle was seen approaching a girl near the church on the day Gretchen went missing. In light of this information, the detectives opted to interview the man, who was then 83 years old and residing in Georgia. On July 17, 2023, they traveled to meet him at the police station to commence their questioning. When Zanstra realized that the detectives suspected him of murder, he began to deny all allegations, inquiring about the evidence against him. The detectives revealed they had testimony from a woman who claimed he had assaulted her during a sleepover at his residence, as well as accusations regarding the molestation of his own daughters. Upon hearing this, David was taken aback, and his demeanor shifted dramatically as he recognized that his hidden transgressions had come to light. He ceased his denials and, nearly half a century after the murder, began to recount his version of events. He stated that on that fateful morning, he drove to Gretchen's father's church in his green American Motors station wagon and observed the girl leaving her home. Waiting for the absence of witnesses, he approached her and offered her a ride. Without hesitation, Gretchen entered his vehicle, as she was familiar with David due to their family's friendship and was en route to his Sunday school classes. However, instead of taking her to the church, he drove her to a secluded park area, halted the car, and instructed her to undress. When Gretchen refused and expressed her desire to return home, Zanstra struck her multiple times on the head, rendering her unconscious. The abduction and the pastor may involve the same individual, and authorities are actively exploring his potential connection to additional criminal activities. Given the ongoing nature of these investigations, further information may emerge in the upcoming months. Regarding the trial for Gretchen's murder, it has yet to commence. It is conceivable that David's legal team may seek to extend the proceedings and recommend that he withdraw his confession. Should this occur, the trial could be prolonged for several years, with no assurance that the defendant will be alive to witness the final verdict.